Welcome back, everyone, once again to a new installment of Friends and Family Month on Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
I'm still always thinking I'm gonna fuck up the intro, especially when I have to like change it for this. And then when I don't fuck up the intro, I surprise myself again.
96 episodes into a second podcast. You're still worried about it.
Yeah. Well, I had that. Well, when you do it, like 90 times and then, a few times a year, you have to change the intro. It's like, I might fuck up the intro, man. It's a lot of pressure.
First time, every time.
You know how a dozen of people listen to this show? It's a lot of pressure, man.
You remember how long it used to take us to get started? How many false starts we used to have on the old show?
It was bad. It was bad.
If only Bobby knew.
We should have called the original show False Starts. It would have been a more appropriate name.
Oh, man.
So many fucking names for these shows. And then we had one all lined up for this show, and then found out after we already had the logo made that the fucking name was taken but wasn't being used anymore. We were just like, fuck. Good times. How's it been going, man?
Oh, tired. That's about it. Tired, watching movies, playing games.
Did you lose a few years off your life watching Twilight last week? I know I did.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
Pretty bad. I can't wait to watch the next movie next year. It's gonna be fucking beautiful. Can't wait.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten like any hate in either the emails or reviews or comments or anything over our Twilight review, because those people are nuts, man.
Yeah, they are. They're probably they're hunting us, but we keep matriculating and moving around, so they can't find us.
You remembered the word of the day.
Oh man, yeah. I've also been as kind of like low energy the past couple of days for not really any good reason. So I feel you, man. I feel you.
I think mine is like I've kind of restricted my dieting parameters a little bit, so
that'll fuck you up at first, really bad.
Yeah, it takes a week or two to get used to it, so I'm not hyped up on sugar and crap like I normally am.
I think I've discovered that after 32 years of way too much caffeine addiction, caffeine just no longer has any impact on me. Because like earlier, I was just drinking like 12-ounce Red Bull, drank it, and then just wanted to take a nap.
Yeah, I can't sleep without caffeine. If
Yeah.
I don't drink caffeine, I don't sleep. I figure that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm sure that's great for my biology.
I gave up caffeine for several months a few years ago, and I felt completely different. In a good way.
Did you feel better? Or you felt better?
Yeah, I felt a lot better.
Maybe I should just detox myself from it for good.
Yeah, but life is short, and I just enjoy Coke. So
Coke Zero is good.
Coke Zero is good.
It's good stuff.
Good drink, good. Go drink.
Go drink.
You thought of it too.
Yeah.
Drift compatible.
All right. So we covered Twilight last week. We are going to be covering Tangled today, courtesy of Aurora, who selected it for us this year.
Aurora.
But first, we have some comments. So would you like to relay some of our comments we got, Ron?
Well, the ever enigmatic Bobby, he posted, just imagine if you had to watch 4 Twilights this month. Fuck you. And I replied, no.
I did imagine that and then promptly vetoed it. So,
yeah, we had a get together at my place recently, and before you and Aurora arrived, Bobby was telling me about how he was apparently screaming at his phone when we were talking about like name a better vampire movie, and we started naming vampire movies. He was naming one that he could not believe neither one of us named, and it was driving him up the wall, and he literally screamed it at me in my kitchen.
Nice. Which one?
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh yeah.
Fucking love that movie. I'm like the only person on the planet, but I fucking love that movie.
I think I've seen several scenes from it just because you've sent me like YouTube clips from it. I don't think I've ever actually seen all of it.
Yeah, it's on my list. I don't know if it's on the short list, but it's on my list.
It's on the list.
It's Mel Brooks. It's Leslie Nielsen.
Can't go
Guy.
wrong.
It's the guy I can never remember from Ghostbusters 2 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
We had another one. Enigmatic Bobby, remember? Why? It's because Edward is a predator. I agree, but I don't know what you're referencing.
See, that's what keeps us on our toes. He's the fucking Zodiac killer of Screenplay Rewind. We never know what he's trying to say.
My wife is the last one. How dare you misquote me? Team Jacob in the movies, Team Edward in the books.
How dare you, Ron?
To which Bobby replies, "Come on, Ron, everybody knew that."
Have you been served the divorce papers yet?
Oh man, it's I've been hearing about it a couple of times because I told her what I think I said, and then she was like, "No, it's the opposite." I'm like, "Oh, that's probably what I said." And then she finally got around to listening to the episode. She's like, "No, that is not what you said." So it's what I've been hearing about. Yeah.
So to clarify, she is Team Jacob movies, Team Edward book. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's, if I understood correctly this time,
which you probably didn't.
Which I probably didn't.
God help us all.
But apparently Edward is a lot less creepy in the books, and I don't remember what the reason is on Jacob, but in the movies, they just make Edward too creepy. And she only has two choices.
The writing and directing of the first movie is just like, man, you know what the hottest thing in the world is?
Stalker.
Some dude just stalking you through your window. It's like, oh my God, that's so hot.
Is the idea supposed to be he's stalking prey? Is that supposed to be the idea?
I don't know.
Why are we still analyzing this movie?
What I mean, I don't know. He's a walking fucking glittery restraining order waiting to happen. I don't fucking know.
Oh man.
I do think it's really funny though that they are on screen together for at least 7 hours in that first movie. And he has no character. He has no character at all. He's got no motivations outside of, I want to stalk you. I can't help myself. I have to stalk you. I don't want you to stop stalking me. That's cool, because I wasn't gonna stop. It's like, okay, man. Okay. All right. Fucking glittery stranger danger. Get the fuck out of my window. But anyway, that was last week's episode.
Oh, I now know the name of my new punk band, man. Glittery Stranger Danger.
That's pretty strong.
That's pretty strong.
That's pretty strong. That would be when they reboot Twilight 20 years from now and they need like the fake script name, you know, to be the alias for Glittery Stranger Danger. Would absolutely be the fucking like in production working title for the script.
Oh my God.
Oh fuck. Oh, so you said that was all of our comments?
That was the entirety of the YouTubes. There's none held for review. I'm still sad we just had that one asshole that gave us a huge bump in the algorithm because he engaged.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, he was stalking us through the YouTube window. Couldn't keep himself contained. Oh fuck.
His voice will be heard.
If you would like a comment or prompt discussed by, you know, Ron and myself on the show, you can always email us at screenplayrewind@gmail.com or hit us up on the YouTube comments on the uploads. Or on Twitter. We're always at SPR Filmcast.
Always.
Send
help. It's a living hell here.
It really is.
Send food.
Man, every day I'm just like, do I really need to keep my Twitter account active instead of just deleting this fucking hellscape off my phone? And I just never get around to deleting it. It's still there.
All of its faults. I genuinely like Twitter, and it's the only reason I haven't left yet.
Yeah. I mean, Blue Sky is the fucking same app, I'm sure. So eventually,
from what I've heard, based on other podcasts I listen to and stuff, it is now basically just Twitter all over again. It started out very different, but it has now It has now fallen to the Twitter level
of crime and debauchery everywhere.
Yeah. It
Cool.
just occurred to me that I'm really bad at checking this, so I decided to check it. We still have no reviews. We still only have 3 ratings.
Okay.
So, get on it, people. I guess is what I'm saying.
How much do you want to bet one of them is from that YouTube comment guy? Because if anyone was going to be motivated enough to go leave a review, is probably or a rating, that would probably be that guy.
Except he would have to switch platforms to do it.
That's a lot of button presses. I don't know if he's got it in him.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't be challenging the Lex Luthor of our show to be, diabolical, because he'll fucking do it. But yeah, any ratings or reviews on any platforms you find us on always obviously helps. I'm still fucking irritated by fucking Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all of these fucking podcast things. Like, the only thing that matters for the algorithm is the reviews, and they're such a pain in the ass to do on every platform. No one ever does them, so I'll forever be irritated by that.
There's something that we have been failing to mention for a while. Anyone that listens to us on Google Podcasts, they are shuttering that.
People use Google Podcasts?
Well, some did, because apparently they are shuttering it, and some people are not happy of it. Okay, we missed it. It happened last week. It stopped April 2nd, so we forgot to mention that we are also on YouTube. They are shutting it down in favor of YouTube, and they have something else.
Does YouTube now have a page for podcasts specifically now, I'm assuming?
Yes, it's in YouTube Music. You can just switch over to podcasts. YouTube proper, you can flag a playlist as a podcast, which is what I do. I just made a playlist and then flagged it as a podcast, and we just update that playlist.
Nice.
Well,
there you go.
But yeah, so we failed to mention that at all.
I didn't know it was happening, so you can solely blame Ron. And I'm willing to let Ron be thrown under the bus for the 17 people in the world that were still using Google Podcasts.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware they had that until we started doing podcasts.
There's so many different there's too many podcast aggregate things, dude.
We probably have ratings and reviews somewhere that I don't know about. Probably. Because as we upload to Anchor, and they just shit out our podcast on a whole bunch of other networks.
We can't stop. It's too dangerous.
Freshly extruded podcast. I would think we'd get an email if we got any, but I don't know.
My favorite email remains that person that was trying to get us to interview their client on the podcast. I'm like, have you listened to our show? Do you really want your
because
client?
No one else does.
Do you really want your client interviewed by us?
Oh my god. So, tell me, which do you prefer between freshly, slightly warm melted butter or peanut butter to gently slide your dick into? Which one? That would be one of the questions that I would definitely ask whoever that was that would appear on our show.
Absolutely. And then they would just hang up on the Discord call, right? That
if you had to rub one of these things on your nipples, what would you choose? Excuse me, sir, are you still there, sir?
And then we would get the YouTube comment the next week from Bobby, which one he answers on the poll. And it'd be the one time we know which one he's referring to out of all of our discussions.
Leave a comment below. Ratings and reviews, emails. We have a Twitter. Let us know. What do you rub on your nipples?
This comment comes in from Bobby. Bobby says, definitely Vaseline.
It's funny you say that. The first thing that popped into my head was chapstick because of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just hate it when nipples get chapped.
That movie is a fucking treasure.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. All right, Ron, you ready to talk about some fucking Tangled?
I was about to make a joke, but I'm not. Yes, yes, I
Let's
am.
do it. Let's do it. Again, this movie was selected by Aurora, and Aurora has submitted her kind of reasoning behind wanting to have it on the show. And Aurora begins.
She too has written a manifesto.
Anyone who's tuned in long enough knows that she once chose the 2015 Cinderella for Friends and Family Month. She figured it was a good film to introduce herself to the group because I saw myself in that version of Cinderella. However, prior to that movie getting released, there was Tangled. The specific story of Rapunzel captured my attention because as a child, it was the first movie I ever truly saw myself and my own story in. Without going into heavy detail, my childhood and upbringing were very similar to Rapunzel's.
Yeesh.
So just quickly, spoilers for Tangled.
I thought you say spoilers for Aurora's autobiography.
Spoilers for yeah. Mother Gothel was truly the animated embodiment of my own mother. In fact, she says things to Rapunzel that exactly mirror words my own mother said to me. Rapunzel's enthusiasm for her dreams and practically unshakable hope for things to improve were two of the many characteristics I felt we shared. The story gave me hope that despite my childhood and teenage circumstances, I could still escape my own tower and make a life for myself, and maybe even find a great love in the process. She said, again, I'm sparing a lot of details here, but this story, Tangled, is so special to me.
Maybe find a great love? How do you feel about this, Jeff?
I feel like we need a follow-up response.
How does that influence what you rub on your nipples?
I mean, nothing can persuade me, against Vaseline. That's just, it's the old chestnut.
Is she sitting behind you, getting one half of this conversation?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So.
Wow.
This was a movie that when I first saw, I had like a deep appreciation for it because she told me some of these things that were like parallels to her own kind of background and everything. And my first point from the movie is I think Gothel is one of the best written Disney villains because of how like realistic her manipulation is. Because like some of the things like Gothel does, she's not specifically like a super over the top like hateful villain like the way that like Cinderella's mother is. She's very like Two-Face and is like abusive, but then will say, oh, I'm just teasing. And that's like, to me, like living with that, the kind of like constant wishy-washy Two-Face kind of nature, it would almost be worse than, like living with someone hateful because you never know where you stand with the person.
Yeah.
You can kind of like learn to shut down if like the person is just that hateful through and through, but to like that level of just being so wishy-washy would be really tough.
Yeah,
so I like the way Gothel's written a lot.
And also to the way she's written, she tends to be a lot more on Front Street with the stuff that you're talking about. Whereas like my favorite Disney villain, because of just how goddamn terrifying he is compared to everybody else, is Jafar. But a lot of what Jafar is doing doesn't hit you till you're an adult, and you're like, Jasmine would be like 15 in real life. like things like that hit you later that you realize just like how bad everything he's doing actually is and the weight of it.
Right.
Whereas, Gothel is everything about her character and personality and what she's up to is just on Front Street.
I find it really interesting too. You see like how evil she can be towards the end when she knows that her ability to continue living is in jeopardy. And her basically having to resign herself to kind of acting like a loving parent just to kind of, somewhat keep Rapunzel in check. Instead of her constantly wanting to leave, she's having to like half-ass make a kind of inviting home. Like she's constantly trying to like, go get her the paint for her birthday, like go get her favorite dinner. There's like a lot more like depth to what she has to do to pretend to like Rapunzel, which is interesting to me because most of the time these villains don't ever have to interact with the protagonist in that way. They just are actively evil the entire time. They're a little bit more like stereotypical, and just like with what Aurora said, there's a lot of realistic parallels that like a lot of there are a lot of shitty parents out there, and a lot of them
Hey.
are this kind of like like Ron. There are a lot of shitty parents out there that walk this like tightrope of manipulation, of like constantly being shitty and abusive to their kids, but not to the point to where they're, you know, fucking, you know, like child protective services level. And that's I think they do a great job of conveying that.
Well, there's also two other things that, you know, thinking about it on a critical level, knowing that we were doing this show tonight, because normally I just watch it and like, oh, this is a Disney movie. It's animated and has songs, and then I move on with my life. But thinking about it on a critical level, there are two things that I kind of thought about this time. Gothel confuses me on that front you're talking about, because it's like she strikes me more as like a single mother that didn't want to have a kid and doesn't like to have a kid, right? That type of parent, because there's a lot of, if you watch her facial expressions, stuff that she's saying or doing just to placate Rapunzel because she needs her on board with what's happening, and she needs her to be naive about everything that's happening. But then little things like going and getting this specific paint that is a 3-day travel away, that's made out of this specific material that's only in that region. She's done it before, and now she's willing to go do it again on request for her birthday. And neither times are these things that, if she didn't have some, not saying a lot, just saying some affection for Rapunzel in some way, even if it is just in the way she uses her, that she's willing to go do this. You know what I mean? Like, it's really odd. It's kind of, it's at odds with what she's doing. And I'm not saying it as like a negative critique. I'm saying it like as, if you map it onto real life, like people that didn't intend to become a parent but became a parent. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Something like that.
It's interesting though, because you know, like Aurora has seen this movie several times over, and you know,
boy, as a father, I have to.
she you know, she asked me as we were watching it this last viewing, you know, like, do you think Gothel likes Rapunzel at all? And it's hard to say, because she does do things like that would seem like on the surface level, you know, they're done out of kindness, but like specifically in the movie when she's going to do this 3-day journey, it is because Rapunzel talks her into it by saying, "Oh, I thought that was a better idea than worrying about the lights."
Right.
So in a way, Gothel is again doing it as a way to sway her into, hey, quit fucking thinking about leaving. I need you, you know, to be happy living here alone, locked in the tower. So again, like in on the surface, that seems like it is a kind gesture to be willing to do this trek to go get her the paint, but she's also at the same time trying to get her to just be happy. That way she doesn't want to leave, and she stops questioning about leaving for the lights and everything. So,
and I thought about that. And another example I thought of, and then I had a realization after that. The other example that I thought of also is, she seems genuinely excited to me to be talking about like preparing Rapunzel's favorite soup or whatever it was she was going to make.
The hazelnut soup.
And then she seems almost upset or angry when Rapunzel doesn't even really respond to it, because she has this other thing that she wants to talk to Gothel about.
Right.
Like, she seems almost genuinely excited that she's going to be doing this thing. But then I had this realization also that, you know, people are messy and complicated, and there's no reason why it can't be a bit of both. You know, I'm sure her evil desires and everything are probably far outweighing any parental instinct she's having. But she has a fucking baby that she took and has been raising, pretending to be her own daughter. There's got to be some level.
If you are raising somebody for 18 years, eventually some form of attachment has to pretty much take place, because she is kind of a more new, like, I just think the fact that we've been able to have these conversations
is a testament.
relays a lot of nuance to the writing that is just honestly not there for so many Disney villains. Like, you don't fully understand just how evil she is, and I think that makes her cool. I think that makes her interesting, just because there is like conversation to be had, there is depth there. She's not just evil for the sake of being evil like so many of the other characters are. Because two of the reasons that I like Tangled a lot, I don't know if it's quite my favorite, because I think Moana is probably still my favorite.
Not a bad choice.
But
there is no wrong choice, but that is not a bad choice.
Two of the things that I most like about Tangled is the depth to Gothel, because you know how much I love villains in fiction. They're always the thing that I will typically be drawn to separate some of my favorite things, from just kind of middle of the pack things for me, is how good the villain is. And then the other thing is just the simple fact that they realized Eugene needs to be a legitimate character within the movie, to the point to where they were originally going to name the film Rapunzel, but then they realized that in order for the movie to like properly be conveyed in its title, it needs to be called Tangled, because Eugene is a very important character and is a kind of co-protagonist for this. And so many instances, like specifically like with Snow White and Cinderella, the prince is like, in Cinderella, does he even speak? Does he have like he has like, I think 3 lines. He has no character.
Boy, Chris Pine speaks.
Talking about in the animated version, of course, because that was one of the things I liked so much about their live action version, was making Kit into an actual fucking character. Because I can't stand when in Snow White, the prince is nothing.
Well, in Snow White, his purpose is to buy the 7-year-old while she's dead. So yeah, great character motivations we got going in that movie. But I love how Eugene is a fully fleshed out character, and isn't just a stereotype of his own kind of persona within the realm of like, he's like the prize for the protagonist. It's pretty fucked up. I have a question for you. In the original story, is her hair magic? Is there any magic to Rapunzel? It's been years, if not decades, since I have read this original story.
I could not tell you. I am unfortunately not like super up to date on a lot of these original versions. I'm assuming that there's something there to it. It's probably not a 1-to-1 translation.
The one thing I definitely remember is that the tear brings him back to life in the original story. I remember that, but I don't remember why. I don't remember if there's any magic to her or not. The reason I bring it up is the thing that dawned on me, I mentioned earlier, that I had never thought about before. If I could become the type of analyst or critic that I hate, where sometimes the door is just red, back off. If I can discuss why the door is red a little bit, is using her for her hair and the physical motions of going through the hair any kind of allegory or metaphor for any kind of abuse or sexual abuse to a child?
Possibly. It's very possible, because this movie has all of those intricate details kind of where they're kind of like hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
Like,
because I could see it. Someone, whether that is true or not, it is easy. Art is subjective, and it is easy to make an argument for that. I just don't know if that is necessarily the intention. You know what I mean?
There's another aspect of this later on in the movie where at one point Gothel tells Rapunzel, and this was like an observation made by Aurora. This was not one I made myself, but I found it interesting.
Credit where credit is due.
Gothel is basically telling her all Eugene wants you for is the crown. He doesn't actually like you. And Aurora said that this could be looked at as like a metaphor for a girl giving away her virginity to a guy, which is a very interesting way to look at those sequences.
It's also the kettle calling the pot black. You know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, I think one of the strengths of Tangled is there's a conversation to be had where it is not so cut and dry like so many of these Disney movies are, and some of them even kind of continue to be. Like, there have been strong entries in Disney, but they're not perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes these characters are very, very like poorly drawn, to the point to where you can kind of just take their character at face value, and they don't have a lot of depth to them.
I think part of what happened is Tangled, it kind of launched a generation of films that are now being written by the people that grew up watching the golden age of Disney,
right?
and and the silver age of Disney. So it's if you and I had grown up to start writing for Disney, having watched all of this, we would probably be thinking this way,
Yeah. There's I think Frozen has a lot of clever changes to the kind of built-in Disney tropes as well. And
it helps that they completely threw out the original story that it was based on. But Frozen, we're gonna have an interesting conversation about it when we eventually get it on this show, because there is a lot there about being gay or bi or trans. There's a lot of on the podcast for the making of Frozen, they talked about how many letters they received saying that Let It Go is the reason that they were alive still, right? Because they would have committed suicide, but they were able to like come out to their families and stuff and all kinds of stuff because of that movie. So there's awesome a lot there.
how awesome is that? Like to be able to like be some of the people involved in that movie, and to read that, like, it just like made their whole universe, to be able to convey like it's a fucking Disney movie, and it can be that powerful to some of these people. Like, that's amazing.
I know this is the wrong movie, but is there a more powerful metaphor for all of that than that moment when Elsa changes her dress and Let It Go, as she's singing about letting it go?
And it can be extrapolated to so many different things. It's great. So was Tangled the kind of, I know it is to this day like the biggest budget ever for an animated movie.
Avengers level budget. It was like 260 million.
Yeah, it was even so it was made like a full decade before the live action Lion King like hybrid. That one's like 250 million. I think that was second on the list I saw a little bit ago. And for this to have been made, 14 years ago now, to still have that record, like that's not adjusted for inflation. That's just how much fucking money. So it's even more compared to like what currency is like right now. It's crazy. So was Tangled the first kind of 3D Disney movie, like a kind of new?
Kinda. Boy, I really should have refreshed my information. There is a movie that kind of heralded, because it was like Pixar spun out and became Pixar, then they kind of rejoined back up with Disney. So like Disney does the distribution for Pixar movies. That's why you have Disney Pixar movies, but Pixar does the animation for Disney. So that's why you have just Disney movies that look like Pixar movies. I want to say Tangled is kind of where that started. But we also had it brought in like new techniques and new technologies, and we designed new things for the first time, and all of that was the groundwork for what is basically like considered the second golden age of Disney, because we go from Tangled to Frozen to Moana to Frozen 2 to Encanto. Like it's kind of crazy, and Tangled is 14 years old. It doesn't look as good as it did then. It still looks pretty good, but you watch Frozen and you can see it got better, and then you watch Moana and you can see it got better, and Frozen 2 it got better. Like Encanto looks amazing.
For 14-year-old animation, though, I think Tangled looks incredible.
I think it holds up pretty good. It's looking a little cartoonish now compared to what it used to, but it still looks pretty good.
And that's also in comparison to their like updated versions. So like your brain can't help but compare it to like the way like Encanto looks. So like you kind of catch some of the differences in like the quality, but for 14 years old and for it to be kind of like because they were tied to Pixar for a very long time, but they have still like with I believe Encanto and like with Frozen, they don't have Pixar on the banner. It is the Disney movie, right?
Yeah, if it's a Pixar movie, you will see Disney Pixar a lot of the time because Disney distributes Pixar film.
Yeah.
But anytime you see just a Disney movie, I believe Pixar did the animation for it. Okay. It's like they spun out and then partnered up after they spun out into their own thing.
Yeah,
or
it's a
something.
weird.
It's a
corporate
weird legal
relationship.
thing, a weird
Yeah.
legal distinction.
But I do think it's important to note that like they didn't transition to just having everything for all time, like afterwards be Disney Pixar. They will have just Disney.
And
so I think there is a difference in the way that they're made.
Well,
because
they're
very particular about that.
What I was about to say is that there is still similarities between the two, but there is still a distinction between Disney and Pixar in the way they're animated. Pixar tends to lean more into like the CG element, and Disney is doing that now. I think Tangled is kind of a weird hybrid, but they still try to look a little cartoonish or a little animated-ish rather than CG.
I personally much prefer the Disney version. I like them where there's still like it's in 3D, but the foundation of like the character models is still kind of originated in 2D. It's kind of like weird to explain, but I like the way, for instance, like Moana looks better than the way like a traditional Pixar movie looks nowadays.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I was about to throw something out there, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Is that Pixar?" I don't know if that's Pixar.
It's tough to keep them straight. What's also like cool is I feel like the Disney only ones don't have as much correlation from movie to movie. Like Moana looks very different from like Tangled. I feel like you can always kind of tell when you're watching a Pixar movie because they kind of have like their kind of home style always on display to some extent. Probably the only one that was like super different was Elemental, because they're literally like elemental people. They're not a person. They're not like
yeah. So Elemental is Pixar. That's the one I was going to throw out.
mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it right now. I don't know. That's going to be on the podcast eventually too. I really like that movie.
We liked that a lot too. I was surprised when we watched it. I was surprised how much shit that it got, because I thought it was really good. I thought it was
really good and really
movie.
well done. It's a very thinly veiled metaphor, if veiled at all, but
right.
It is done incredibly well, and it's a really good story because it gets what it wants across, but also manages to focus on these two characters at the same time more than anything. It's a really delicate balancing act, and they do it really well.
I agree.
And there's a lot of cultural touchstones that's touching on that we wouldn't get, that I believe the director would know that because he's Asian American, so he's in between the two cultures anyway, and he was able to do it in such a way that, yeah. Anyway, Elemental's a really good movie. Y'all go check it out.
Good movie, good, go watch.
Good movie's good, go watch. Yeah, Rapunzel. Tangled, man. I was kind of done with Disney when this movie came out in 2010. This is near the end of me working at the movie theater. I did not watch Tangled until I had kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, which was 2016. So this was already a 6-year-old movie.
What's out of curiosity, before that, what was the kind of like straw that broke the camel's back that made you say, I'm done with them for a hot minute?
They just had a string of movies that I just didn't care about, and I was like, all right, well, they lost their touch. 90s Disney is over. It's not the 90s anymore. And I don't think I'm necessarily alone in that, but at the same,
can't really think of
exactly.
Like, Princess and the Frog was one of their last, like, if not their last.
Exactly.
Like, 2D
Tell me an aughts Disney movie, Jeff.
And like I like Princess and the Frog. It's not one that
I don't think I've ever seen it. I know Christina likes it.
It's pretty good. It's I don't think it's up there with some of their kind of like Golden Age stuff, or like to the realm of like Frozen or Tangled or Moana or anything, but I liked it quite a bit. It's pretty good. But yeah, it just became a thing where they stopped making that many movies.
Okay, so in the aughts, I don't even know what this one is. Apparently that's when Little Mermaid 2 came out direct to video. 102 Dalmatians, woohoo.
Yeah, they pivoted to almost making more like direct to DVD movies because they were just cheap to produce. And
I do like Atlantis, actually. But
Atlantis is okay.
Monsters Inc. sucks. We get
Well, Monsters Inc. is Pixar.
Co-production with Pixar Studios. Pixar Animation Studios for Walt Disney Pictures. Is this when they were still together?
Sort of. Like it was a Pixar one though. Like it's more branded as like Pixar than Disney.
This is supposed to be a list of Disney movies. Yeah,
because it like it is. I hate their fucking merger, dude. It'd have been so much more simple if they just never fucking merged.
Hunchback of Notre Dame. No, Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. Damn it! How many sequels did you guys release?
Dude, all they did was make like direct-to-DVD sequels because they were just worried about the merchandising.
Finding Nemo's Pixar. I'm just not even really finding that many that they did that went to theaters. Like The Incredibles is Pixar.
Maybe it's because they were making so much fucking money off of just like the Pixar side of things.
They just like
quit. Whatever. They like, you guys make the theater movies. We will make the direct to DVD shit. No matter what, we're making all the money off of the toys because Disney was the spearheaded side of that. They would be pulling the George Lucas and merchandising the ever living shit out of everything they can.
Was there no? I mean, I know it's a Pixar thing, but hang on. Was there no? I didn't see any Toy Stories in the 2000s. That can't be right.
They had Toy Story 2 in the 90s. They didn't make Toy Story 3 until like 2010 or 2011, kind of around there.
Yeah, 2010. Holy shit.
They didn't have any Toy Story because they initially weren't going to circle back to Toy Story, I don't think, ever. And then eventually corporate greed probably run out. And they're like, you know what? We can make a lot of money if we just made Toy Story again, you guys. You know what? I would like a super yacht instead of a normal yacht. So let's make Toy Story 3. Let's fucking do it. And then they made it. And then they made a fourth one.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because everything in here is direct-to-DVD type stuff, live action or Pixar, and there's not really any Disney movies to be had. It's like they just kind of quit.
It was like Atlantis and Treasure Planet and like The Princess and the Frog, and those are like the only animated ones, like 2D animated ones from that time that I can think of. And then Tangled, kind of like, which was what 2010 that we said.
Yeah, it was 2010.
So this was something that I found really interesting. Have you looked up the directors for Tangled much? Because this was interesting to me. Okay, so Nathan Greeno, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the last name. So he is the co-director of Tangled, right?
Uh-huh.
He directed Tangled with as like a co-directed thing, and then he directed, I'm assuming co-directed Tangled Ever After, which was the short film, and then he never worked with them again. But if you look up Byron Howard would go on to direct Zootopia and Encanto.
Oh wow!
So I think it's odd that you have like something that's co-directed like Tangled that by all accounts is not a Frozen level hit, but a hit. Like it kind of like spearheaded this entire kind of modern generation of the Disney side of these animated movies and the way that they were doing them. How one of them would go on to direct Encanto and Zootopia, and the other one just like stopped working. So like, I'm curious. I'm curious what the kind of background details are for that.
Yeah,
like maybe the Byron Howard guy like did all the fucking work, and the other guy just wanted to get credit for the group project. And then he went to the Disney execs. He's like, man, fuck that guy. We're gonna get that guy out of here.
Yeah,
I found that really interesting, and I've never heard anyone talk about that. Just because like it's so weird. Like we have become so ingrained in writers and directors again in Hollywood, but the writers and directors of like the Disney movies kind of like largely go like unnoticed. It's just the IP for Disney. They're not looked at. It's almost like the way that like Marvel was like outside of like the Russo brothers. They were just kind of like bringing in random directors, it seems at times, and just kind of like cycling them in and out, almost like directors of fucking like TV shows, the way that they do that shit. So yeah, I was curious. Have you ever heard anything about why the other director never worked again?
No, I'm looking at it right now. It says that he moved over to Skydance Media, but
Weird.
I mean, I'm still not seeing that he did anything. Hey, that was in 2018. He moved over to Skydance. So I don't
Super
fucking know.
strange. I also fucking love the fact that Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm have IMDb pages because Tangled. So when you pull up the cast and crew and you go to the writing credits, Dan Fogelman, who was the screenplay writer, has his picture and he's next to the black and white drawings for fucking Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm.
They're prolific. They've written 372 projects and have 6 upcoming.
Oh man,
that's pretty good. I've never noticed that.
I love that. I saw that and I was like, oh shit, do they have pictures? And fuck yes, they have pictures.
They do. Yes, they do is the answer.
I want to know who's taking the time to go over to the Grimm's Brothers IMDb pages to upload fucking like drawn biographical pictures for their pages. I love that so much.
But yeah, the this film, at this point, it takes so long to make an animated film. We still, at the very least, would have gotten Frozen because it came out in 2013, and I think there's like a 4 or 5 year turnaround on these movies, at least back then. So, if this movie had bombed, we would have at least still gotten Frozen. I think we still would have gotten Moana. It would have been going into pre-production at some point. I think they'd be very different movies. I think they'd be very, very different movies had this movie bombed.
How so? Do you think they would have been like more phoned in and just kind of like focused on making them like profitable IPs for like merchandise, like Return of the Jedi style, instead of like making them actually good?
Yeah, I think it would have been like, like what you were saying, like what people want out of Star Wars is the same old thing over and over and over again, and they're afraid of anything new. I think that they took a big gamble on this movie, and if it had bombed, it would have scared them.
It took a big gamble just making it so focused around Eugene, I think. Because like there was probably like, I think I've read a little bit of how like there was a lot of back and forth on how they, you know, like some of the people making the movie originally wanted it to be Rapunzel and were pretty steadfast on it just being Rapunzel. And I think like the foundation of the movie is like their relationship together, not just Rapunzel as a character by herself. I think it's really it's built on them two together.
It's really two different stories that converge. They're more co-stars than actor and supporting actor, and right. Frozen will emulate that when it comes out with Elsa and Anna.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So not as well.
And Elemental did that as well. Like they were presenting the characters separately for a while until they.
Yeah, I just really want to watch Elemental. Yeah, they what's funny is the directors will eventually talk about Frozen 2, about how when they were getting ready to make Frozen 2, they went back to Frozen 1 and watched it again. They're like, crap, this is supposed to be both their story. This was just Anna's story. Like, we didn't focus on Elsa at all in this movie. And then Frozen 2, they kind of set out to fix that. But I think the overall goal in that movie is, I think it kind of emulates the style a little bit, where we have two main stars. Their stories don't start out quite as divergent as Eugene and Rapunzel do in this, but yeah, it's just interesting that we have two main stars basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's interesting how that kind of became like a foundational touchstone for the way that they would present some of the initial character arcs.
I would think Maui is more of just a really big supporting role, wouldn't you? I don't think he's sharing.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite to the level of, and I think that's actually one of the strengths of Moana, is the fact that there isn't really a romantic interest in that movie. I love that is a thing in that movie. You know, yeah. It is mostly just it's a coming of age movie, and that doesn't necessarily need like a romantic aspect of it to work as a, you know, dramatic movie with 3 acts. Like like her becoming her own person and finding her own way is like a foundation enough for a story that you don't need to have romantic interests, and I love that about that movie.
And the fact that Maui's not creeping on a child, you know, despite the fact that he's who knows, maybe a few hundred years old. Yeah. That didn't happen in that movie, Edward. Yeah. So yeah, no.
So is he shiny or is he not shiny?
He's not shiny, but there is a shiny character.
Yeah. So let's talk about the cast. What are your thoughts on Mandy Moore as Rapunzel? Because I think she does a great job in this.
Yeah, I've never had any feelings one way or the other about Mandy Moore, but I like her as Rapunzel in this. I think she does pretty good.
I think she does a great job.
She has two. I don't even know if it's her or what the way voice acting works, but there's she has two like little barks / squeaks that happen in the beginning of the movie that make me laugh every fucking time.
Yeah.
And they're one of those things that like I would have paid money to been in the recording booth with her when she did them.
I would love to see some of the Gothel recording sessions because they seem very animated, like in just in the way that they had to have been like acting to record them at all.
Yeah, one of my all-time go-tos on that is I would pay good money to be in the recording studio with Dwayne Johnson when he recorded that scene where he just screams like a girl when he picks up the boat and sees Moana.
or I think you told me he would always like take a shot of tequila or something before he had to sing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
But no, the specific one of them specifically, I'm trying to remember where the first one is. They're both after Eugene is in the tower, and one of them I definitely remember because it's my favorite of the two. When she thinks she's got him stuffed away in the closet, and she's walking away, and he falls out on top of her, and that like squeak / scream she lets out. There's another one it's before that. But I would have paid money to be in the recording booth when she uttered those, if those were in fact her.
Yeah, I love it. We also have Zachary Levi, who's playing Flynn Rider / Eugene
Shazam!
In this. Yeah, he would go on to be Shazam. He got his start and probably like big break, I'd say, was like the TV show Chuck.
I'm sorry, but Shazam is the name of the wizard. He's Captain Marvel.
Oh man.
Yeah. There's those people.
Yeah. I hate those people.
And half of those people, I'm like, I'm sorry. He was Captain Marvel when my dad was reading comic books. He was not Captain Marvel during any of your runs. You went back and read those.
They're literally being a fucking Shazam hipster. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Who cares?
Who is going out of their way to die on the Shazam / Captain Marvel hill to that extent, by the way? It's like nothing better you can like focus your energy on. Like, who fucking cares, man?
Who fucking cares? Anyway, I just had to do that.
Yeah, Zachary Levi is great as Eugene. I like that's one of my like biggest like aspects of this movie that really draws me to it because like I want the fucking Prince character, like this kind of like romantic like opposite to the lead, to actually be a fucking character. Who would have thought that'd be a good idea for a story? Like actually have the character be a character.
Yeah.
He has his own personality. I think I can only imagine, because this movie was in production for like 6 or 7 years and was like in production for fucking ever, that they like, how many times do you think that, I'm assuming they probably had Mandy Moore picked first. How many dozens of casting call like like conversations do you think there were, as far as like let Mandy Moore like do a scene with an actor, and like how many dozens and dozens of actors like were doing lines for Flynn Rider? Do you think it was probably like a shit ton? Because I imagine it probably was.
I would have to imagine, but I have no way of knowing.
Yeah, I almost guarantee you that they had them always record with Mandy Moore because they were so like dead set on making their relationship such like a strong like building block for the movie, that I guarantee you they were having the actors that were auditioning for Flynn do the lines with Mandy Moore. And I think they chose really well, because I think their dynamic is really great. I also just want to take a second to commend Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi for coming back to do the animated series.
Oh, did they really?
So this was like the coolest. Okay, so a few months ago, Aurora got me to watch the animated series, which is a continuation of Tangled.
Got me to watch.
And I was 1000% expecting.
Excuse me. Frozen is a continuation of Tangled. That you can see them in the.
You're sounding like the Captain Marvel guy right now. Shut the fuck up. I fucking totally lost my train of thought. Oh, the Tangled cartoon. Okay. I was 1000% expecting them to have recasted everybody. They have everybody back for that fucking cartoon, and it's so cool. Yeah, they come back pretty much like they even have fucking Jeffrey Tambor back as Big Nose. I'm just like, y'all got fucking everybody back. It's awesome. So if anyone likes this movie, I strongly urge them to check out. It's Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. I think the first season was called Tangled the series, but it's together on Disney Plus. It is started by a kind of like pilot 3-episode thing that I think they kind of like turned into a movie, and it is called Tangled Before Ever After. So before you watch the show, you'll watch that. That is like the kind of like pilot introduction, like mini movie for the show. And the cartoon is actually like it starts out a little bit iffy because they were kind of like, I think, struggling on whether they wanted to make it like full blown for kids or whether they wanted to kind of continue it in the tone of the movies. But if you just give it like a handful of episodes, it is full blown in the tone of the movie, and it's really good. Like I can sell it to you on like one fucking episode concept, Ron. Like you got to hear this shit. This is in the fucking Tangled cartoon. I think it's like the second season. It might be the third season. I forget which one, but there's like 3 seasons total. It's either in the second or the third. They're on the road, like doing their kind of like main quest thing, Ron, and they stop at this kind of like mansion, like motel type, like Airbnb type thing, right? To spend the night because they're caught in like a big storm. They come across in this mansion thing, this like creepy mansion, a fucking mirror that when you look into the mirror, it creates an invasion of the body snatchers double of you. And it is like it is an episode of the fucking Tangled cartoon that is like John Carpenter's The Thing, where they're getting replaced with their mirror double.
Huh.
And I was watching and I was like, there's no way they made a fucking body snatchers episode just for me. And I was like, oh shit, they did. And it's fucking cool. And there's other like Halloween style episodes. It's super cool. Some of them are, a little bit goofy at the beginning, but yeah, check it out. It's again Tangled Before Ever After, which is the little mini movie, and then Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. You'll find them on the Disney Plus page. But yeah, I strongly advise people to check them out.
My problem with them is I don't like the animation style. They look like the books that you would buy a child that maybe not isn't a board book, but is like one of those Golden Spine books. I don't know. That really bugs me. Those books annoy me, and it looks just like those books to me.
If you watch it, it kind of like blends into the background a little bit after you've watched it for a few episodes, because I was initially like a little bit thrown off by it, but then eventually it was so funny. You're thrown off going to 2D versions of those characters, and by the time I finished the show, we went back to watch the movie, obviously, and it was weird going back to them being 3D because my brain got revamped to viewing them as the 2D versions.
That's why you're like, I don't know, this movie still looks pretty good.
Yeah, dude, there's like a third dimension to this animation. It's fucking wild, man. No, but the cartoon's really good. I advise people to check it out if they like Tangled at all, because I was pleasantly surprised by it. I was going into it kind of expecting, because so many of the cartoon versions of these properties are just cash grabs. Like we talked about how many of those direct-to-DVD sequels, which are garbage. Like that's usually the way that these kind of cartoons go. But I think the fact that Zachary Levi and Mandy Moore and all the actors came back is like a strong testament to the writing, because their music is written by the same people who made the music for the movie. Alan Menken and Kevin Kleisch, I think are their names.
Disney seems to be learning the lesson that if they put effort into it, that it will make them money. And they seem to be also learning that to keep the same people on, because Frozen 2 is all the same people from Frozen 1, Exactly. Same directors and writers, the Lopez's did the music for both. Like, I believe Moana is much the same. The problem that I have with Moana 2 is that it started out a series for Disney Plus that they thought was too good, that they converted into a movie.
Isn't that so funny? It's like, this is too good. we're gonna make it a movie because we want to make money off of it.
And and I'm just like, that is either going to be really good because they trimmed all the fat off, or it's gonna be really bad because it's gonna be really rushed. I don't know.
If it's the same people though, I have faith in them because the first Moana is just like
I'm
fucking perfect.
I'm gonna double check it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's the same people. The last time when I looked, I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah. So, which writing group do you think wrote the first initial draft? Was it Dan Fogelman and then the Grimm brothers, or do you think vice versa? Which writing team do you think had a crack at Tangled verse?
I mean, it's clearly Fogelman. Clearly.
It's clearly. They've reanimated the Grimm brothers with fucking magical hair, and they just have them locked up in a tower. If any studio would have 300-year-old zombies writing movies for them, it would be Disney. And maybe that's like the foundation for Disney wanting to freeze his head. It's because it works for the fucking Grimm brothers. They're fucking immortal.
I'm not seeing. No. It Moana 2, different director, different writer. Clements and Musker, I know, did Moana 1, and they wrote it with Jared Bush. I believe.
Is this correct, by the way, that it's expected in November of this year? I didn't realize it was so close to being done.
Well, like I said, it was a show that was supposed to debut this year.
Interesting.
So they have a lot of it done just from that.
Okay.
But Clements and Musker, you'll know from Aladdin. That's why there's so many goddamn Aladdin Easter eggs throughout all of Moana.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, they're in the movie. They are one of the rugs being held up in the background. But Moana 2 seems to be David G. Derrick Jr., and it's the first thing he's written. Now, he was the story artist on Moana, and he's from the art department of a ton of movies.
I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt with Moana until proven otherwise, because
he was there.
Everyone just knocked it out of the park so much in the first movie that I'm willing to give them a shot.
God, get it off my screen. He has Raya and the Last Dragon on his IMDb.
If Moana 2 is bad, though, I will be devastated and probably have to stop watching Disney for life, because I love that first movie so much.
It's so good.
It's very, very good. So we also have Donna Murphy, who is playing Mother Gothel. I think she fucking kills it as Gothel. Gothel is such a good character. Like, the way that she shifts her tone between being like patronizing to, is she loving for real? Is it all like, like all of those elements we were talking about, to where you don't fully understand the extent to which, does she actually like Rapunzel at all? Does she just view her as the item that's keeping her alive? That a lot of that is based on her performance, because she walks that tightrope like beautifully.
Yeah, she does a phenomenal job, and her singing also.
Man, it's so good.
Like, when it comes to Tangled, I'm just kind of okay on Tangled, but one of the songs that I really like is the reprisal that Gothel has. When after she tries to get Rapunzel to come back with her, and she gives her the crown.
Yeah.
That reprisal is probably one of the best Disney reprisals. Like, it's up there with Jafar's reprisal of Prince Ali.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really good.
I like her the first. I like the background stuff they have happening during the Mother Knows Best song too. There's a lot of like fun stuff. Like, I like where like Rapunzel is like scared and she's hiding in a pile of her hair.
Of her own hair.
Like, it's really good. There's a lot of great like visual gags.
It's interesting. One of the things I like the most about Encanto, I feel like, was birthed here, because it seems like this current crop of Disney movies is acknowledging the fact that people sing, and that things are happening to the other characters while they're singing, and as the screen is changing, like, those characters are experiencing that. That is not for the audience. That is not in the person singing's mind. These things are happening to the other characters.
Happening.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back and revisit Encanto? Because you were talking about how you guys were considering it, and we were considering it as well.
I'm halfway through it right now.
You're halfway through. How are you liking it better on the next like viewing?
I'm liking it a lot better.
Because we were both part of that might have also just been like the fucking hype around that movie was inescapable and awful.
I never heard any hype.
People would not shut the fuck up about Encanto. Like,
really?
Oh my god, yeah, it was a thing.
I
there
missed
for a hot
it.
minute.
I missed all of that.
Yeah, I think that was a big reason behind me not liking it, because I'm pretty, like separated from the internet when it comes to shit like that, because I've just kind of like shut myself off of almost every outlet that can overhype shit for the most part. I'm not really on social media, for instance. Like I don't work at a movie theater anymore, where that was like a big driving force behind a lot of like the hype that you're surrounded by. It was people just like talking about shit around the movie theater. But yeah, Encanto was really overhyped for me. When I watched it, I was just like, I don't know.
I didn't know or ever hear anything about it. The only thing I ever heard was we don't talk about Bruno. No one would shut up about that song, and it's not even a good song.
People wouldn't shut up about that at all. Very annoying. And
what's interesting is
not that good.
I didn't care for that song, and I didn't care for that song when in the movie, like that scene. And I still that song is really grating to me still, but I like it a little bit better on the second viewing for the visuals. But that song is still, it's so discordant. It just sounds like a bunch of people that don't know how to sing yelling at each other. I can't stand it. I can't handle that song.
It's a bit of a mess. I agree. I never had an issue with the visuals in that movie. I think the visuals were always like a pretty like solid strong suit for it.
Well, I mean like
was
the scene with the song is what I mean. The
like
visuals to go with the song, not the animation.
The presentation, yeah. I'm just talking about in general. I thought the visuals for Encanto were. I like how this has become a mini review of like all 1,200 Disney movies along the way.
You can't talk about Tangled without talking about what it has done and what it has unleashed.
Yeah, my big issues with Encanto were mostly like character based, which when I watch it again, I'll see how I feel.
You mean grandma? Your issues with Encanto are grandma.
Yeah, fuck grandma, dude. She's kind of a bitch, and she never really has like her comeuppance for being a bitch, and I hate that about that movie. So we'll see if that changes at all.
I'm sure some of that is cultural touchstone that we're not getting. It's not coming through to us, but at the same time,
she's an asshole.
She's an asshole.
She is to me, and like they needed to specifically redeem her to make her work as a quote unquote likable character, and they don't do that. So I still hate her.
My big issues with it was we've talked about a lot of the metaphors and Tangled and in Frozen, and there's a bunch in Moana that you could dive into, no pun intended, that are really nuanced and layer after layer after layer in the way they're written and the way they're presented. And my biggest problem with Encanto is still the family is falling apart, as in the house is falling apart. So the house literally falls apart. And that is their nuanced, layered way.
It's so on the fucking nose.
Yeah.
Now I like that the house is like a character. That's kind of cool. How it has
that's like really neat.
How it has a personality is cool, but yeah, the metaphor is so on the nose that it's not even really a metaphor anymore.
The fact that the house is a character in that movie is why I cared when it fell apart. Yeah. If that hadn't been the deal, I would have been like, like what's the point?
The house is more likable than almost all of the human characters, which is a problem.
I don't know, man. I like Lisa.
Oh man. So Tangled has an awesome supporting cast of actors
dude,
too.
This supporting cast is
so good.
Incredible.
We got fucking Ron goddamn Perlman as the Stabbington brother. And I also like the fact that one of the Stabbington brothers doesn't fucking talk. And I was like, on this viewing, I was like, wait a second, does the other one not ever say anything? Because they kind of just like they just kind of blend together as the Stabbington twins. And then, you realize that the Ron Perlman one is the only one to ever fucking talk. And I also just love the fact that they're called the Stabbington brothers. Like, that's just such a great, goofy name.
Well, I thought about that, and something dawned on me. They're the Stabbington brothers, but they get backstabbed not once, but twice in this movie.
Right? Yeah, they don't do the backstabbing. They get fucked over constantly.
Yeah, they're the Stabbington brothers because they are constantly fucked over, not because they're doing the stabbing.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh man, it's so good. MC Gainey as
Damn
Captain of the
right.
Guard.
And basically appearing as himself. I mean, the
Right.
Captain of the Guard looks. I knew who it was as soon as I saw him.
What's also cool, the Captain of the Guard is a much more important character in the cartoon, and that's a cool like way they kind of carried with the characters. I think. 'Cause
Nice.
I like the Captain of the Guard. We have Jeffrey fucking Tambor, who I adore as Big Nose. He's so fucking good. Brad Garrett. My favorite song in the whole movie is the "I
Yes.
Have a Dream" song. That song is so good and it's so much fun.
I've got two that are basically tied, and that is one of them.
What's your other one that's tied?
The lantern scene.
Oh man, that's true too. That's such a great scene.
But
I think "I Have a Dream" is my favorite one just because the dialogue is so like jaunty and so fun.
That's what I was gonna say. As a song, I like that one better. Paired with the visuals, though, that lantern scene is so good.
Yeah, the "I See the Light" song with the visuals, that looks like it was made yesterday. The animation is so good that you can tell like they realized how important that scene was, and
the reflections in the water.
Oh my god,
and
it's gorgeous.
Just the use of light in that whole scene is incredible.
That scene is perfect.
It's like they got a
so
brand new, shiny new lighting engine to play with, and they tried to figure out the best way to use it.
Yeah, it's like the rest of the movie's PS4. The lantern scene is PS5
with ray tracing.
Yeah, we got ray tracing for Tangled.
We got quality mode with ray tracing over here.
It's so good. Also, how awesome is it that Jaws from James Bond is Vlad?
This is his last movie.
How I love Jaws. I'm not.
I still can't figure out where he spoke. It's like he grunts a couple of times, but I can't find any places where he has dialogue. Where is his dialogue?
I love it so much. He's so fucking good.
One thing I was gonna say before we moved on, I wish Brad Garrett wasn't such a dick because I love him and everything.
Yeah,
he's in.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where you kind of have to like just shut your brain off and just kind of because I love him as this character.
I'm blanking on his name right now, but when my parents watched Everybody Loved Raymond, I watched for Brad Garrett and for their dad in the show.
Oh yeah.
I'm blanking on his name right now.
The actor was the dad.
Yeah, Johnny Dangerously, Scooby Doo. I can't think of his. I'm gonna have to look it up now. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up as well. It is Peter Boyle.
Yes, Peter Boyle.
Yeah, love Peter Boyle.
Brad Garrett and Peter Boyle are why I watched.
They make that show. They're so. Oh, and the lady playing the grandma is funny too.
Give me gum gum.
The fact that she's just like how much of the show is just the two that Peter Boyle and Doris Roberts just roasting Robert just constantly just fucking roasting that poor man. And he didn't do anything wrong, he just doesn't have a family, but because he didn't have fucking offspring they just roast him constantly. And it's just really fucked up.
Oh man.
Yeah the supporting cast of Tangled is just like fucking awesome, and the fact that they get like all of them back for the cartoon, I was just like yes, because the supporting cast is so fucking strong.
Paul F. Tompkins, I don't know anything that I know of things he was in. I've never seen any of these things except The Simpsons and American Dad. But at this point, who hasn't been on either one of those shows?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I have guest appearances on American Dad by now.
Uncredited, damn it.
Uncredited, of course.
But yeah, Venture Brothers, 4 episodes, a different character each time. It looks like.
I also just want to say, maybe my favorite character in the whole movie is Max. I fucking love everything they do with Max. The chase sequences at the beginning of like Eugene versus Max Dawn of Justice are so fucking good. I love it.
The best part of that whole chase sequence though is when he first lands on Max and Max whips around and looks at him, then the pupil shrinks like a moment after.
There's also a really great moment that's like blink and you miss it. But you know when they're on the tree on the side of the cliff and then like the tree snaps and they both fall?
Yeah. They look at each other and then start screaming.
That's great too. But if you the next time you watch it, watch Max really, really closely, because his neck extends as he's falling like a Looney Tune.
Does it really?
It really, yeah. I didn't notice the first couple times.
Like Wile E. Coyote.
Well, yeah, like Wile E. Coyote style.
Sign.
When he's falling, his like neck, his head stays in place, so it elongates his neck like Looney Tunes style, like Wile E. Coyote, and it's so fucking good. I love how they have like several instances of these like blink and you miss it like animation jokes like that.
I kind of want to take the scene of him sword fighting Eugene and set it to Dark Souls music.
Dude. He's like the cursed horse of the guard. Oh man.
I just want you to know that this is the strangest thing I've ever done.
Dude, that scene later on when Eugene like slams the wanted poster in his mouth and he spits it back on his face perfectly where that like the face is outlined is such a good gag. I laugh my ass off every time that scene happens.
No, you want to know what?
So good.
What is a really simple gag that they do twice that I laugh at way too fucking hard each time?
Which one?
When Pascal shoots his tongue into Eugene's ear. Because it's the way they do it. There's a pause, then the mouth opens, and then there's a pause, and then the tongue shoots out.
I love it so much. Also, just the fact that Pascal is such a fucking boss that at the very end he's like, this lady's already fallen out the window. I'm making damn sure she fucking falls out this window when she's falling, and he holds up the hair to trip her. I'm just like, fuck yes, Pascal, you little I love you so much.
The power move though belongs to Eugene. And I feel that is true in any and all Disney movies.
It's so good.
If you pay attention when she's coming in to kiss him and he's putting his hand up, I watched it this time. The entire time his hand is coming up, he is grabbing her hair and pulling it tight like a ponytail in preparation to cut it.
Yeah. Dude, the moment he gets stabbed is like a what the fuck moment too, because like the movie...
But Jeff, there's no blood on the dagger. And if she had stabbed him, the dagger wouldn't be clean, Jeff.
I know, right?
I swear to fuck.
Yeah, like someone had listed that as a goof on the IMDb page, and we were talking about that in the green room, and it's just like,
that's not a goof. It's a kid's show. It's a kid's movie.
Surely whoever wrote that on the goofs page is part of the Captain Marvel Shazam crowd, right? It's got to be like the same person, right?
Dude,
like fuck that guy.
Watching it this time, I was stunned. They got away with showing blood on his shirt when she pulls his vest out.
Yeah, because that's not supposed to happen. Like that
doesn't happen in a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like when they pull that guy's heart out and there's just no blood. It's just crazy.
Well, that's why that's how Temple of Doom got their rating. When he pulls the dude's heart out, there's no blood.
Yeah,
they just have the hole in his chest, and he reaches in and pulls the heart out. If there had been blood, that would have really jacked up the rating. Let me tell you.
Wasn't that like the first movie to be PG-13? Didn't they like create it because of Temple of Doom?
That is what I've always heard. I don't know that it's true. That is what I've always heard.
Yeah, it could be like just like an old like kind of wives' tale for Hollywood. I'm not.
It could be like a legend at this point that Indiana Jones himself would seek out.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Eugene has his moments for me. I kind of find him annoying on the whole. But he has his moments throughout the movie, like the Zachary Levi delivery of why is he smiling at me and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of my other favorites was, oh, if you could just see the look on your face, because you look, and then he slams into the wooden board and he goes, ridiculous.
Yeah, his delivery, that's great. Yeah,
stuff like that is pretty good, but on the whole, especially at the beginning when he's trying to be like a total ass to get her to turn around and go back, like I don't know, there's something about the sing-songiness of his deliveries, and it just seems like he's talking like just a mile a minute. There's something about the character that it's not Zachary Levi's performance. I'm sure that's the way he was directed to do. But
yeah, well, it's almost like, I think it's almost like intentional, because that's when he's Flynn Rider. He's putting on a performance.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a thing later on where he kind of shifts to be like, I think it was intentional on the directing part.
Yeah, his personality type though is still the type that just kind of irks me in movies. Like he's the fast talker. He's the guy. He's not smooth, but he thinks he is. Like, I don't know. I find him kind of grating, except for a few moments here and there.
But like, like what they have to do with the ending with him is really strong.
I'm assuming he's talking about Robin Hood, right? Basically, when he took the name of Flynn Rider, his favorite character, because Errol Flynn was Robin Hood. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think it's a callback to that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in like the universe. Like there like literally was like I think it's like Flanagan Rider is like the character that he loved. So it's like in universe for Tangled. It was like an actual like book series.
Yeah. It's funny. He's Eugene for so little of this movie. I can never remember the Flynn Rider name. I always remember Eugene.
Right.
I don't know why. Maybe because that's when I kind of start liking him. I don't know.
But yeah, like I think they do such a great job of. I actually buy that these two characters like love each other. That rarely ever fucking happens in these movies. Most of the time, just like that's bullshit. They barely even fucking talk most of the time. Like why should I have any like? I feel like we talked about something like somewhat recently on the show about I don't know if it was actually like a movie we covered specifically, but where it's just like, and what like like even with fucking Twilight. In what universe do those two characters like each other? They should not like each other. All they are fucking dicks to each other the whole time.
Yeah, it gets worse.
There's no foundation for them liking each other, let alone falling in love. And I think Tangled does a good job as far as like I actually buy their romance. That they're both like hard-headed at first, partially because like Eugene is putting on a persona and he's like almost like actively being more than of a dick than he like really is because he's just putting on the persona. And then like fucking Rapunzel has just never had a fucking conversation with anyone like anybody not named Gothel. So like I think that she's a bit awkward in like their early conversations because this is the first time she's talked to anybody that wasn't Gothel. That's like a skill is like to learn to talk to different people. If you've talked to just one fucking person your whole life, you don't really know how to like connect with people. So I think they're kind of like a dynamic at the beginning like reflects that pretty well, like where they are like grading to each other, but that's kind of like to a point.
So a long time ago, I had this conversation with Chris. I find it interesting that Rapunzel is educated. Like Gothel took the time to educate her, at least enough where she could educate herself at some point. Mm-hmm. She is naive about the world at large, but she's not necessarily naive as a person either.
She's really smart. She's very book smart. Like she talks about at one point how she like charted the stars.
She charted the fucking stars.
And that's how she knows that the lanterns aren't stars because she's charted them. So like she's super book smart.
Yeah.
So are you thinking like Gothel should have just made her like Flashpoint Paradox Supergirl or Superman where they're just like a zombie?
Well, I'm assuming that that's what was about to happen, right? When she's got her in chains and she's trying to leave with her.
Yeah, but I mean, like, where like they're specifically not educated because they don't want them to be educated.
Yeah, I find it interesting that she took the time to. I assume that's to make her life easier to some degree. There has to be a reason for it, but yeah, I don't know. Or it could go back.
Part of it was also she let her educate herself because that would keep her busy.
Yeah, well, at some point though, it had to start, right?
Yeah.
So it's like how much of it was because part of her is Rapunzel's mom, but it also serves her in some way, and then Rapunzel's took it from there out of boredom. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting that she's educated.
Yeah, like
to
Aurora
the degree that
like,
she's educated, like it's
right.
It's crazy.
Aurora always has like the observation too of like why did Gothel tell her exact birthday?
Yeah.
Because if she didn't realize the birthday like significance with the lanterns, she wouldn't have been wanting to venture out as much, because that makes like it always happens on her birthday. So obviously she's gonna have like a reaction to it, and she's gonna have like a like a curiosity about it, because of course you would. It always happens on your birthday.
I think
she fucked up.
personally, I think it's because Gothel doesn't have any imagination.
Yeah, she's also constantly underestimating her.
She's constantly underestimating her, but like she tells her exact birthday. She doesn't change her name.
Right.
The way she has told her about the world, it's not imaginative, or she's not making it up. She's old and kind of disenchanted and disconnected from the world. That's the way she actually sees the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like she hasn't lied to her about anything except her true identity. Really, everything she's told her is through her own lens of how she sees it or thinks it. She doesn't really have any imagination to herself, of her own, that I can see anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Gothel. Gothel's a weird and interesting character.
Yeah, they leave so much of it up to like interpretation too, which I think is kind of cool. That you don't really know like the full extent to, because like they talk about like their background, but I think it's a smart decision to not have like a huge chunk of the movie be about Rapunzel growing up. I think that's like because I think it's smart to like to cut a little bit of that out, and then just kind of like montage it a little bit, just to kind of like keep the pacing up, and not kind of like grind it to a halt with the fucking Peter Parker, Uncle Ben getting bit, like the whole like fucking origin story that we don't really need.
Does it bother you does it bother you at all that the king and queen don't speak?
That was actually something I brought up to Aurora, because I was kind of curious like what everyone's representation of that is, as far as like what the meaning of it, because like to me the only thing I could think of as far as like what kind of significance there would be is that they don't have them speak because Rapunzel never heard them speak, and that kind of like adds more kind of impact for her, because they're her parents, but they're also just people that are like portraits on a mural, because she's never really met them. I don't know if that's kind of what they were going for, but it is a little bit bizarre. What's your kind of like read on that?
My read is sometimes the door's just red, Jeff.
They just don't talk.
They just don't talk.
They are voicing the cartoon as well. So
are they really?
Changed that. They changed that for the cartoon. Yeah, Clancy Brown is the voice of the king in the cartoon.
Why wasn't that a thing in the movie?
Right. He's awesome too. He's like a full fleshed out character in the cartoon, which is interesting because it had been a while since I watched the movie. So when we watched the cartoon, I forgot they didn't talk in the movie. So I was like, oh shit, they never talk in the movie. That's strange.
It's so weird.
I don't know. You'd think they'd have them talk at the end.
Yeah, at the very least.
But it's like a very specific choice. I'd be curious, like, is there a commentary on like any of the Blu-rays or anything for this movie? Because I'm curious if maybe like that is something that's been discussed on the commentaries.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never sought it out.
It's a specific choice for sure. So they have a reasoning behind it, or it wouldn't have been done. I'm just curious, like what their kind of thinking is.
Yeah, I don't know. It couldn't have been that hard to get someone in the booth for a day.
Yeah. Aurora just texted me. She was saying that she kind of thinks like maybe like just having the music and facial expressions like kind of carry like there's a great moment like when they are sending out the first lantern, when the scene happens with like I see the light scene in the boat and everything, like like there's a pretty powerful moment where like the king is crying. That's like pretty, because like it's really fucked up that they haven't seen their daughter in so long, and like how painful that would be to like do that tradition yearly, just kind of salt in the wound kind of.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always been really weird to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I would just like to hear their take on it. It doesn't really bother me, but I would like to hear like their specific take to it.
Yeah, like I said, I like Tangled, but I'm still just kind of warm on it. I don't care about it as much as I do Frozen or Moana, so I wouldn't say it bothers me at all, but
right, yeah.
I just think it's it's a weird choice. There's so much. We've talked about all the nuance and all the details in this movie that's kind of hidden in plain sight, but then the king and queen don't talk. Like, I don't know. It seems really weird to me. It just seems it's an interesting choice. It's definitely, like you said, has to be a choice because
Yeah.
they didn't spend $250 million and then pinch a penny to not have the king and queen not talk. So
I would just like to hear like their kind of mindset behind it, because I do think it's interesting to think about like what could be the reason. And then also for just switching such a 180 for the cartoon and just having them be, voiced fully fleshed out characters, which I mean, like obviously they'd have to, because the
Right.
cartoon is a continuation, and they're important because part of it is establishing like there's an awkwardness at the beginning of the cartoon of, she has to get to know her parents. It's like, yeah, they are her parents, but they are strangers to an extent. Like she hasn't been around, doesn't know like their backstories, and that's part of like the foundation for some of the episodes of the cartoon is her kind of like getting to know her parents, and like them trying to make like a welcome home for her, because it would be weird to go from living in a fucking tower to being the princess and living in the castle. Like it's a pretty big adjustment period.
She
And
just traded up towers, really.
I'm glad
A stone tower to an ivory tower.
I'm glad that the cartoon does that, though, as far as like making it a transition instead of just like, oh yeah, I'm the princess, everything's fucking honky dory now. That would be an adjustment period, because she's talked to one fucking person her whole life, and I also like that Eugene always calls Pascal the frog.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
What is it he says? Nuance? Is that when she corrects him?
Oh god, what does he say? Yeah, something like that.
It's pretty funny.
Oh man. Oh, I just got another fun fact that Aurora wanted to throw in. Gothel's dress is actually based on a design from the Renaissance to show like how old she is in comparison to like the current time period.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you know this viewing is the first time I ever noticed Rapunzel's dress changes at the end of the movie once she's a princess?
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't make it like a specific note of that, but
it's similar enough in design to what she was wearing, and it's almost exactly the same color. That I have two 7-year-old kids. I have seen Tangled, Jeff. I have seen it many times. I have never noticed that her dress changes, because it was always similar enough. I thought it was the same dress every single time.
You'd think they'd make it more of like a stark change just to sell more toys, because that's almost always like the driving force behind those changes.
Let me tell you,
I know where this is going.
The only movie I have ever seen of this crop of Disney movies in theaters was Frozen 2. And when she awakens as the fifth spirit and her dress changes, every little girl in that theater just audible gasp when it happened.
I know who I'm going as for Halloween.
I heard all the money hit the floor in that scene. Just a whole room collectively went, like every little girl in that theater was the girls was sitting by the well in Tangled.
That was their Captain America Mjolnir moment.
Yeah.
was the new dress.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dude, I'm telling you. So yeah, you would think. And by the way, also as a father going through the toy aisle and stuff where they sell the Disney dresses, poor Moana. That dress is horrific in real life, super cheap child version. I mean, it's not that great to begin with, because I can't imagine wearing a grass skirt. That has to be awful. But the design of it and everything is so bad compared to, like, especially hanging next to Elsa and Mirabelle.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it looks so cheap and bad. It looks good in the movie. The little like $10, $15 version hanging on the rack for little girls, it's bad. Next time you're in Target, swing over that way. It's bad.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. Yeah, I think I'm kind of like I love how they bring back. Oh, first of all, this was a note that I like a mental note I made to talk to you about. I love the fucked up abnormal geometry of the Snuggly Duckling building. Like the fucking the fucking Snuggly Duckling looks like that level in Dark Souls 3 where like all the buildings are like imploding on themselves and shit. It's so weird. I love it.
So it reminded me of two things. It's like the people that did the canted angles in Batman 66 for the villains,
right?
Decided to film the Forest Temple moment in Ocarina of Time, because there is a pretty famous area of that level that the hallway twists as you go down it. So you're always running on the floor, but you can tell the room is spiraling around you because what you're perceiving as the floor is a spiral. So you're on the floor, the walls, the ceiling, back to the floor as you're running down this hallway. And there's a thing you have to do that literally straightens the hallway out, and that changes the doors it goes to.
Yeah.
It's like the people from Batman 66 that did the canted angles decided to film that damn hallway. It's interesting. It's almost a completely different style.
Yeah, I love it. And they just have it there all fucked up and no one
malicious, mean, and scary.
the goddamn writing in that song is ingenious. I adore it. It's so fucking good.
Oh god.
My sneer could curdle dairy. It's so good. Oh fuck. Yeah, I think I've kind of touched on everything that I had for it, but yeah, I think this is I do think it's interesting kind of like looking back on how this was the kind of first building block for the whole new new renaissance for Disney, because like you said, like they didn't make much of anything outside of those direct-to-DVD movies for a very, very long time. They were just fucking cashing in on that goddamn Pixar money for just like making money off their fucking merchandising, making money off the direct-to-DVD movies, and just kind of like honestly phoning it in for a long time. Because while I like that Treasure Planet, is it just Atlantis, or is it like another? I forget. Is that just the title of it, or is there like a more extended title of
Atlantis? Blah 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 blah. I think it's got a colon after Atlantis.
Yeah, what the fuck is like? It's like to my point, Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
Something like that.
Yeah, like I don't hate them. Like they're not like war crimes, but they. The
problem with Treasure Planet is Muppet Treasure Island exists.
Right.
With Tim Curry as Long John Silver.
These aren't the types of movies that are going to be like cultural touchstones the way that, like Moana and Tangled and like Frozen and Encanto can be.
You can see a direct-to-home DVD desperate attempt to recapture the 90s, because it's all sequels to the 90s movies.
Oh, yeah. That's all they did. That's all they fucking did. Constantly, and they're almost all bad. Like I haven't heard a single good thing about 99%.
What, The Little Mermaid 2 is not good?
I haven't watched fucking any of them, but I have heard nothing good about almost all of them.
Christina and her sister used to watch Little Mermaid 2 a lot. Return of Jafar is the only one of those sequels that I actually like and saw. I didn't even bother with the others.
I want to say there is a direct-to-DVD sequel to Beauty and the Beast that has Tim Curry as the villain.
Tim Curry?
And I'm okay with that. Now I'm okay with that movie existing because it's Tim Curry, and I will allow all Tim Curry movies to exist regardless of how bad they are, because they had Tim Curry and therefore they're perfect.
I like Return of Jafar, and the asshole that gets Jafar's lamp is Jason Alexander. Which I can't think of anything more insulting to Islam or Arabic people than having Jason Alexander represent your culture.
I see no problems here at all. I think it's fine.
Dude, Iago has a great song in that movie, by the way.
Nice. Oh, man. But yeah.
It's a duet with Jasmine, if that sells you.
I'm down. I really like Tangled. I'll have to kind of like, I'm pretty sure Moana is still my favorite. I really like the Frozen movies. I don't think Frozen, like the way that Tangled doesn't quite hit for you, Frozen is a little bit that way for me, where I really like those movies, but I don't love them the way that I do like Moana. They don't hit me in the same kind of way. But yeah, I think it's been fun to talk about because I do think the kind of like modern generation of Disney movies is interesting and how they kind of like they salvage like an entire studio, because like they went from making Atlantis and Treasure Planet to once again kind of like making these like the types of movies that can connect with kids to the extent that you heard an entire theater fucking audibly gasp, freaking the fuck out. Like,
dude,
that doesn't just happen. Like,
you know when Gimli walks in wearing the chainmail and he just lets it drop to the floor, like that is
it's
the
a
way,
little tighter around the chest.
that's the way her dress transforms. It goes from the shoulders down to the floor like that, and it happens about as fast as that chainmail hitting the floor. So it just poof. Like an entire room.
I love it.
I don't think we can leave though without talking about how 10 years after this movie came out, the opening song became the theme song for the entire goddamn planet. Do you remember how this was the theme song for COVID?
Oh God, remind me. I feel like I know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
The opening song is about all the things that she does while shut in, right? The candle making and reading several books and then playing chess and then sweeping some more and then painting, and it's just how it goes on and on and on. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the song, it's still just early morning.
Yeah.
When everyone went into lockdown in 2020, this became the theme song for the lockdown. Like this song surged on Spotify and Apple Music and all the services and on YouTube and everything, because it became the anthem of the entire planet.
I like the part where she's done 1,200 things already, and it's just 8:15 a.m.
Yeah.
Like that perfectly encapsulates what it felt like to be in lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, it makes total sense.
They wrote that 10 years before it became super relevant.
Before it became the touchstone of mankind for about 4 years. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Man. Isn't it crazy that it's almost 5 years since like the pandemic started? Doesn't that just like blow your mind a little bit?
And we've got a new one starting
today. Yeah, awesome. Love that for us.
Thanks, birds.
Yeah.
Keep your germs to yourself, god damn it. Fucking rats with wings. Come on.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think I think that's gonna be it's probably gonna be a wrap.
There's another Joker movie I'm not gonna see.
Oh yeah. They just dropped the teasers for it.
Wow.
I'm curious how it's going to work, because it's now not allowed to be just a complete one-to-one copy of Taxi Driver. Like, what are they going to do? I'm not like frothing at the bit to watch it, but I'll probably watch it because I watched
frothing at the bit.
Dude, it's fucking midnight. I'm tired. I'm mixing my metaphors. Fuck you.
Frothing at the bit. It sounds dirty, but I can't
chomping at the bit and frothing at the mouth. That's what I combine.
You need to stop.
You're welcome.
It sounds dirty on its own, but I can't quite connect the dots to make it dirty. Frothing at the bit.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, America.
You're fucking welcome. Oh man, yeah. If you would like to, like we talked about earlier, submit a prompt or question for Ron and myself, you can always email us, screenplayrewind@gmail.com. Any ratings or reviews on whichever platform you caught us on is always helpful. If you found us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. It always helps us out. Share us out to your friends. Do you have a friend that's really into Tangled? Or we had a fucking mini review of every Disney movie for the past 50 fucking years today, so that's helpful for somebody out there, I think. So there you go.
Yeah, share us out to your friends, share us out to your enemies. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just share us out.
Do you know somebody who is still hung up on the fact that Shazam isn't called Captain Marvel and is still fighting on that fucking hill and dying for no reason?
Shazam!
share it out. Ron, where can people find you on the interwebs when you're not discussing the entire biographical history of Walt Disney?
God, now that you've put it that way, all I can think of is Elion. You can find me at Ron Sense TV on all the places: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Currently playing Spider-Man 2. Getting ready to start a Subnautica randomizer, which I am not finding much in the way of YouTube for a Subnautica randomizer. So I am pretty excited to corner a market after all these years.
That's shocking to me too, because that's like the perfect type of game to have a randomizer. Because
I thought about that, and I think it's the target audience is the issue. Like, you played Dark Souls. I don't play games for challenge, and I don't think Dark Souls 1 is hard. I think it's fair. I'm not in that get good camp of fuck yourself, this game's easy. But there is a challenge element to it that draws you in, and a randomizer just heightens that, right? Subnautica is kind of a relaxing kind of kick back and vibe game. I don't think a randomizer is a good idea. I don't think there's a market for it.
Well, you see, Ron, you're playing Subnautica wrong, because you not only cheated the game, but you cheated yourself. Okay.
Did you see the Sonic holding his breath for April Fools? Did I send that to you? He's got this giant big head, and his mouth, his cheeks are all inflated.
I think you did. That sounds familiar.
I'm gonna send it to you again. Because it's freaking great. But yeah, that's where you can find me and my bullshit.
Awesome. Yeah, go subscribe to all of Ron's bullshit right now. Do it.
bullshit. Go bullshit.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. I'm fucking tired.
Yeah, it's weird.
What happened? We fell apart.
We fell apart. It's we had too many factual and like enlightening conversations for each other, like really diving deep on this film, and that just like was our last bit of gas for the day, and now it's just done. Now we're just done. Well, we're not done with Friends and Family Month though, because we have 2 left. We have Bobby's selection next week of Kung Fu Hustle, which I have not seen.
I have seen in bits and pieces, no thanks to my dad.
Nice. And then we are closing out Friends and Family Month with Battlefield Earth, courtesy of our friend and former friend Soapy.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Which I also haven't seen, other than I've seen bits and pieces of people typically absolutely destroying that movie.
I was gonna say,
it is...
no, but you've heard.
Oh yeah, it is often regarded as maybe the worst movie ever made, which I'm excited to watch, just because I can then come on this podcast and yell about it. And that's Ron's favorite time, is when I'm on the podcast just yelling for 90 minutes. You love those.
I'm like that gif of Colbert with the giant popcorn and the 3D glasses.
You really
just
are.
Sitting back.
I recently went back and listened to part of our fucking M. Night Airbender episode.
One of my favorite things we've ever done.
Yeah, the M. Night Airbender episode of this podcast is just me yelling until my voice is gone for about, like an hour and 45 minutes?
I was going to say, it was like a 2-hour podcast, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long podcast of me just losing my shit over how insulting that movie is to people that like good movies. It's bad. Oh, man.
But it gave us Cliff Curtis trying to keep his goddamn clothes on.
It did. And that is eternal.
And it gave us like 18 Earthbenders throwing a rock.
Because some say to this date, 14 years later, Cliff Curtis is still trying to hold on to that costume.
He's still there, trying to keep his clothes on.
In that hallway.
At some point, he's supposed to go Super Saiyan and fly around. Like, how is he going to do that and keep his clothes on, Jeff?
I don't know, man.
That's why the movies didn't continue. They couldn't figure it out. Yeah. They just didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
Do you realize, I was complaining the other day when we were showing Aurora, the opening to the Flash movie, about how bad the CGI capes look in the Flash, and that put me on a rant of the CGI capes in the first place. And then fucking Airbender, they couldn't even figure out how to keep the clothes on their actor.
We not only can't make the CGI work, we can't make the costumes work. You have to be an airbender just to keep your fucking pants on, dude. Like,
This is why
bad.
they switched to CGI. It answers everything.
Oh my god, fuck that movie so much. Hate it. Yeah, I am excited. Now, do you remember from what you've seen? Like, is Kung Fu Hustle like a comedy? I don't even know what the fuck Kung Fu Hustle really is.
I don't think anyone knows what Kung Fu Hustle is.
Okay. Yeah. I think. By the way, I don't think either of those are streaming anywhere. You have to rent them. So I'm gonna be fucking shelling out. I'm gonna be shelling out $3.99 for Battlefield Earth in 2024, which I'm pretty sure puts me on a watch list somewhere. Like, it's got to. Like, who in their right mind? Like, we're gonna be the only two people in the universe renting Battlefield Earth for $4 fucking in 2024. I can't wait to have that as a permanent stain on my iTunes history.
I almost feel like we need to watch that one together so we don't have to rent it once.
We can't give Travolta the $8. We gotta give him $4 worth of royalties.
Yeah. Did you say the next one we're doing is Kung Fu Hustle? I wasn't paying attention to you.
The next one is Kung Fu Hustle, and then the last one is Battlefield Earth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Kung Fu Hustle is like a live action cartoon, basically.
Okay.
You're gonna like it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I have very little context. I've always heard of it. It's just one of those that has escaped me, so I don't have a lot of context for it.
I'm looking at it on. Oh damn! I forgot the 10 rings are in this. I'm looking at the trailer is running in the background on IMDb right now, and I totally forgot there's people running like Sonic the Hedgehog, like from the games, with the way with the way his feet move. Yeah, you're gonna love it, dude.
All right.
Even if you hate it, you're gonna love it. Like there's no way you're not gonna enjoy watching it.
Okay, I'm always down for that, and just the simple fact that like when you know you're gonna be hopping on to like talk about it on a podcast, that always makes it more fun. That type of movie.
I think this movie is going to make me angry about Dragon Ball Evolution, to be honest.
How could you ever be angry about that? I mean, you've seen Master Roshi eat the fly. Like, it's a masterpiece.
I've also seen Paul Newman eat a fly, though.
It's not Master Roshi, though. Come on, man.
No, it's Ivan goddamn Ooze.
Wasn't that Chow Yun Fat?
Yeah. Yep.
Just the fact that Chow Yun Fat was Master Roshi in a Dragon Ball movie like blows my mind to this day. And I've watched that movie. I still don't fully believe it. I don't think it's real. I think like Mandela affected the goddamn Dragon Ball movie into existence. I don't think it actually exists.
If you recall, Grandpa Gohan was Randall Duck Kim.
Oh fuck, you're right. I forgot about that too.
Ernie Hudson was in that movie.
See, now you're just making shit up. I don't believe it.
There was a Ghostbuster in Dragon Ball Evolution. The Thing was in Dragon Ball Evolution. No, different guy.
You never cross the Kamehameha streams, dude. Come on, dude. Don't do it.
What? Hang on. I just blew my own fucking brain. I can't think of his name now. Hang on. Keith David. Okay, I couldn't leave without coming up with that.
Oh man, so it sounds like you're just fucking excited as hell to watch Battlefield Earth, specifically out of these next two movies. So I'm excited.
I'm excited to watch Kung Fu Hustle, but I'm excited for you to watch Battlefield Earth.
God damn it, dude.
Because I think, okay, it's in that vein of movie that is so bad you just can't even care. But I think that it is so bad it hits a new floor. I think it drops to the floor and goes to the basement. And I think that it's just going to go all the way back around to just pissing you off.
Oh, okay. So it becomes like exquisite, like the old Babylon.
Oh
chestnut.
No, it's not even.
And then it hits the exquisite, and then it becomes even beyond that. To the point of then it pisses you off after it's become so bad that it's good?
No, it never becomes good. It's not so bad it's good. It's so bad it's fucking awful.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited to watch that just to see where I fall on it, because I feel like I might be fucking mad. I might be like pissed.
In business school, we studied Sprint for how not to treat your customers. I'm pretty sure in film school, you study Battlefield Earth for how to not make a movie.
All right. I'm going to be mad. I'm probably going to be mad, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's you know how like you'll play or watch something that just angers you for the sake of the fact that it angers you because it's 2024 and you want to feel something? That's Battlefield Earth, dude.
All right. Let's go. I'm pretty sure Soapy just fucking Googled what is the worst movie ever made. And then just found Battlefield Earth talked about like on the first like 4 or 5 articles. It was just like done.
Let's see.
Are you seeing if that's what pops up on the Google search?
Yeah, and I don't agree with a lot of these. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list.
Nice.
Of top picks. If you Google worst movie ever made, it is number 5 in top.
I knew
picks.
it had to be one of the first ones that he, because I almost guarantee that's what he did to pick it.
What's Wikipedia say? Well, it does it by year. That's no fun.
Yeah.
Reefer Madness. Sorry. That pushed a Mystery Science Theater button. They covered Reefer Madness. All right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Top picks from Google. Face Off. You can go fuck yourself.
Worst movie ever made? No way.
Dante's Peak. You can go fuck yourself.
What the fuck?
Old Boy. You can go fuck yourself.
Wait, the remake?
No. I forgot they remade that.
People like the original movie.
Like is a strong word for me, but I did watch it. I did watch it. I'm still healing.
It's fucking like traumatizing to watch, but it's not like one of the worst movies ever made. That's crazy. Like Battlefield Earth is like one of the worst movies ever. M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender is one of the worst movies ever made. Not Face Off or fucking Old Boy. Like this list is garbage.
Mars Attacks, Reign of Fire, Titan AE, and Tron.
These people have not seen enough movies. That list, if that person thinks those legitimately are some of the worst movies ever made, they have not watched enough movies, and that article should not be listed because that is just like fucking bait. That's like that fucking Mad Max Fury Road meme of like that's bait. That's what that is. That's just people like trying to wait for people to get pissed off in the comments about it because most of those movies are not that bad.
Yeah, that was Google. Oh, come on, Rotten Tomatoes. That is on my short list to be on this podcast because I love it so fucking much. Number 1 on Rotten Tomatoes, worst movies of all time. Ballistic X versus Sever.
Oh, I have heard that is one of the worst movies ever made.
I fucking love that movie. I've never met anyone that didn't like it.
I've heard nothing but awful things about that movie, but I've never
heard anyone talk about it, and everyone I know that has seen it loves that movie.
So you love it like non-ironically? Because I've heard that it's just like
no, the movie's fucking great.
I've heard nothing but it's horrible. That's all I've ever heard.
They have Jaws the Revenge in their top 10. They don't even know what they're talking about. Top 10 worst movies. Jaws the Revenge is great. Thank you.
That's the one with Michael Caine, right?
I believe so.
Michael Caine being in your review automatically makes it at least like a 6 out of 10. Like just as a starting point.
Yeah, that might be 3. Mario Van Peebles is in it. That's a name I've not heard in many years. Where does on the website, where does it show you the cast? Here we go. Mario Van Peebles. Oh, no, Michael Caine is in it. You're right. It's funny they list him so low down here. I wonder what their criteria for who gets listed.
Yeah, I have no. It feels like cast lists have just started to become like generated by fucking AI on a lot of sites because it is random and all over the fucking place when it comes to like their order. But yeah.
Anyways,
it's been fun to talk about. This is probably like the most we've done like a deep dive on just Disney in general on the show, which I'm surprised because I always expected you to have like because I know you obviously like love the Frozen movies and Moana so much. I'm surprised you haven't had one of them on the show by now.
I figure we'll probably have Moana on sometime around November. And
for the sequel.
Yeah, and I always thought Aurora would either pick or talk you into picking one of the Frozen movies, so I just kind of waited.
I never picked one because of how much you like Frozen, so I was kind of just like because I was kind of like backing off because I figured you pick him for sure.
Battlefield Earth, number 55 on the Rotten Tomatoes worst of all time.
Interesting.
So it's not even in their top 50, Jeff. How bad could it be?
I can't wait. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so fucking bad.
It's
All
in
right.
their bottom 50. Come on.
It's the bottom 50. There you go. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm excited for us to be able to pick our own movies here in a couple of weeks. So that's gonna be pretty cool.
I already know mine.
After what's gonna be? Oh yeah, like Ron's gonna be next up after the friends and family stuff ends. So I'm excited. Like it's just gonna be.
Oh, I'm fucking done with this website. Speed 2 Cruise Control does not deserve to be on this list. Get out of here.
I just think of Willem Dafoe putting leeches on himself, and that is the only memory I have of that movie.
Enough said. That's
There you
enough
go.
to keep it off of the list.
It's Willem fucking Dafoe with leeches. That's all you need.
And he has a jet ski. Who doesn't love a jet ski? Owen Wilson would be flipping his lid.
Willem Dafoe with a jet ski and leeches.
Come on.
Perfect movie. That's all you need. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
What is this show?
This show has been a fucking disaster of Battlefield Earth proportions. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great night.